Thank you, thank you, thank you. There you are.
Look, I done jumped on the wrong page. My
I
bad.
said that. I told everyone, I said, a lot of times on these weekly episodes, a lot of people go straight to my personal page and forget to come over to Trauma to Triumph. And I apologize. I may have forgotten to tell you to join from the Trauma to Triumph page. So thank you so much for figuring all of that out. Thank you for being a part of this Trauma to Triumph podcast. You may not have heard the beginning, but I explained that, who you are just at a high level. I want you to be able to formally introduce yourself, tell them who you are at a very high level, talk about what you're doing in life today. And then I want you to take us on a trip down memory lane. As you know, this podcast is all about telling people your real, authentic, true story about when you went through real life trauma, something that a lot of us probably would not have been able to endure. And then you talk to us about how you transition from that trauma to where you are now and living triumphantly. So that's what this is all about. We turn wounds into wisdom through the sharing of our traumatic life stories. Because it's at the end we get to say, but look at God. Look at what God can do.
So, to piggyback off there real quick, there's a Bible verse that is one of my favorite verses. It's, and they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. It's our testimonies. God or Jesus done did all that he was going to do. That's the blood of the Lamb. But it's the word of our testimonies that let everybody else know what God is still doing, not just done. So,
He's
my
still
name is
doing.
my name is Carlos Walker. I am an artist, author, inspirational speaker. I let me see. I'm trying to think of how to describe myself. I just like to say I love to inspire people.
So, Carlos, when you said you're an artist, does that mean you're an artist, you're a singer, or you're a painter?
Painter. So
Okay.
I use pastel paint. How you doing, Georgia? She keep yelling Carlos. Hey, baby. So I use pastel in order to create my pictures. So
Wow.
chalk
Okay.
pastel.
Very interesting. Okay, so thank you for introducing yourself, Carlos. So again, like I explained before, what I like for you to do is for you to go back as far as you're comfortable going back. I like for these conversations to be very organic. That's why I didn't ask you, what's your story? I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to hear tonight. And so I do that intentionally so that my reaction and my engagement can be organic. I don't have any preconceived anything because all I know is that your name, and I've seen you out here with your books. I know that you are a very, you hustle those books. That's all I know. So I want you to go back as far as you're comfortable as to when you feel that trauma first came into your life. And sometimes, Carlos, as you know, people go through life trauma in different phases of life. Some people experience life trauma when they're brought into the world, and then, when they're a young child, young adult. So it could depend. Again, we don't know your story, but we're here to hear about your journey of trauma to triumph tonight.
So I guess mine, I would say, started when I was probably about 3 or 4.
Okay.
At the time, I am the sixth child of my parents, so I'm the
You're the
baby, and
youngest. Okay.
yeah, I'm the youngest of them, and everybody is way older than me. My youngest sister is 8 years older than me. So
Wow.
my parents,
You
they
really are
had
the
me,
baby.
yeah, they had me at the age of 38 and 41,
Okay.
and when I was younger, being a little kid, you expect for, especially when you have no siblings that are around your age, everybody else is older, you look to be treated like the baby. But my parents, they ended up bringing my nieces in. So at a younger
Mm.
age, my mother actually kind of like shared with me that I didn't, being the boy, I didn't need as much as my nieces did, and because they didn't have their parents, they was pretty much looked at or given more. But
Wow, that's an interesting perspective that your parents took.
well,
They
my
felt like
mother,
your
my
mother.
yeah, my mother
So
took. Now,
You felt like your nieces needed more attention,
more,
more whatever.
yes, because their parents wasn't there.
Okay.
Me being a kid, I didn't understand it at the time. So me, I felt like my mother didn't love me in a way. I started acting out. Let me see, really, probably at the age of 9, I started cussing my parents out, started rebelling. And what ended up happening was I became a problem child. And
Wow.
my problem was the fact that I didn't feel like I was loved by my parents. Not by my father, because my father actually wanted me and was showing love, but I couldn't see it.
You couldn't see it.
Uh-uh.
Why is that?
Because I was too busy looking for my mother's love.
That's right.
So
I wanted to hear you say
it
that.
was it was blinded. And it wasn't that she wasn't loving me. It's just that being the only child and me being their child, I'm looking for them to, or I'm looking for something more.
Mm-hmm.
So I acted
Wow.
out.
So you started acting out,
Yeah.
cussing your parents out.
Oh gosh, so when I said cussing them out, I'm talking about at the age of 9 years old.
And how did
Like
that
really sure.
go over? Like, were your parents not disciplinarians? Did your dad? They were just you just got to cuss them out.
Well, no and yes. So being that they were older, they were like in their 50s when I was like
Oh,
14 years old. So they
okay.
already went through. Now I'm be honest, if I had been raised with my other siblings, my teeth would have been down my throat
Right. Your
because
parents was tired. They was old and they was tired.
thank God, because look, hey, I got spared.
Yeah.
However, because of the way I was, they put up with it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get I guess reprimanded in some form? Yes, but I'm the last one, so they kind of was a little easy too.
Right.
So it kind of gave me what's the word, free reign to somewhat do what
Yep.
I wanted to do,
What you
but
wanted to do.
yeah, but somewhat still they were old
Yeah,
school,
you
so they still had
had
their
some
way.
boundaries, but the boundaries were loose.
Real loose, thank God. Once again, look, hey, my teeth would have been down
Right.
my throat.
Right.
So, at the age of, let me see, 14, I ended up taking in, selling a little weed and stuff at
Mm-hmm.
school. Got kicked out of school.
You got kicked out of school. Okay.
Got kicked out of school at the age of 14 for selling weed. I started smoking weed at like the age of 11.
Wow. Now,
From 11 to
were
14.
were was this from the influence of other, yeah, some, other friends?
I will say the first time I smoked weed was from the influence of somebody elder,
Okay.
roughly about a year older than me, but their parents allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do.
Mm.
My parents didn't allow me to just do anything, even though in some form, yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
They had a little bit more structure to them, or
Right.
structure to me. Now, being that I was the youngest, I still did receive some things that most kids. So I come from a two-parent household that was, I ain't gonna say we was affluent, but if you go back and if I can show you my household and where I was from, out of on my street, we probably did have a little bit more than most, or it seemed that way.
Right. So you weren't selling weed because you needed to get some school shoes or you was trying to get out of the projects. You was selling weed because you was just being a badass,
And I was just bad.
basic.
You know,
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
and when I did, it was me. It was probably more because I liked smoking weed at the time too, and it was easy to do it at school, so I could sell the weed. So I started selling weed at the high school. Got kicked out. Somebody
Did you
told
grow
me.
up in this area?
No, I grew up in Southern Virginia. I'm from Halifax County,
Oh,
Virginia,
wow.
near
Wow. I think
Lynchburg and
I think
Danville.
yes, that's where Stan is from.
Well, I didn't know Stan was from there. You and Stan met a long time ago. This been a while ago. Stan been in my phone for the last 4 or 5 years now.
Yes, yes. I remember. I think I do remember. I'm terrible sometimes with memory, but I think I remember when y'all
It's
first met.
been a long time ago.
Y'all have a
And
lot of stuff in common now that I'm hearing your
now
story.
didn't know he was from there though, but I'm glad I know
Yes.
now. So
Yes.
messed around, got kicked out at 14, got kicked out of school. Age 15, I was selling moonshine at the high school. Um,
Wow. How did you
yeah,
know how to do this stuff if like older people showed you how to sell moonshine?
nah, see, this is what happened. It was some old heads that sold moonshine.
Okay.
Now I found out that they sold it, and people like to drink. So what I would do, I would pour half all sport into a bottle, half moonshine, and I would sell them for $10. So
Wow.
on the way going to school, what I would do is get rid of the bottles. One day, we must run and drink all the moonshine on the bus. So
What?
I'm drunk. I get to school, go to sleep in the class, wake up when class was over. I go to the bathroom to use the bathroom, and some people was in the bathroom smoking cigarettes. Me, I promise you, don't smoke. An officer comes in the bathroom and grabs me, and we headed down the steps. I might have been speeding a little bit. Remember, I've been drinking, so I'm walking a little fast. The officer runs up behind me, grabs me by my arm, and push my arm way behind my back and push me against the wall. I push off the wall and hit him. We get to fight.
You hit the
I get
officer?
yeah,
Oh,
I hit the officer and I get to fight with another officer came, so I'm fighting with two officers. Finally, they apprehend me. They ended up taking me to the jail, and I stayed in like a little detention center for like 2-3 days.
mm-hmm.
Then I go see the judge, and the judge orders me to go to counseling for 6 months, and then if I did good or on probation, then I would be good. So then I got pretty much smack on the head.
Okay.
All that went well. I'm still wide open. I'm still kind of like cussing at my parents. Still, I guess you could say traumatized in some way, but don't know it. And me, it's just me acting me.
Acting out, right.
Yeah,
So
don't
that
know that I'm
well, that 2 to 3 weeks that didn't teach you a lesson.
2-3 days.
Two, three
So
days. Okay.
I started selling crack at the age of 16.
Mm.
Now, I watched one of my best friends sell crack for 2 years. I really didn't want to sell drugs, but one day, me and my father, we got into an argument. This was on a Sunday morning. And he told me basically that he won't going to give me no more money no more. He was giving me like a little small allowance. So me, I'm okay with it. Look, hey, upset, but okay with it. We had been selling peanuts every now and then at the store. You cut up some peanuts and sell it for crack cocaine just to make some weed money because I quit selling weed for a while. And what happened, I ended up cutting up some peanuts. My cousin went and sold them for me. He gave me $100. He took the rest of the money. I ended up rolling some dice and
Now
making,
wait a minute, Carlos. I'm not from the street, so when you say cut up peanuts, are you talking about real peanuts?
yes,
Like
I cut
peanuts?
up some real peanuts.
Okay.
And bagged it up like it was crack cocaine. It looked
Okay.
brown, and we sold it. I made he made about $300. He only gave me 100. He sold it. I took that 100. We ended up rolling dice with some more of my friends, and I ended up winning. So I ended up buying my first pair of Timberlands with the $100, and
Okay.
then I took and I bought some. I ended up getting some drugs, some real drugs, and from that day forward, I never looked back. I started selling drugs from then on.
Wow.
One day, I had a good amount of drugs, and I was downstairs in my parents' basement sleep. My father comes in, and somehow I dozed off and left the drugs on the bed.
Oh
My father picked
Lord.
him up, looked at him. His nephew used to sell a lot of drugs. He looked at him, he threw him back to me, and I guess he knew, hey, this is what I chose. And from
Wow.
then, from 16 to 24, I ended up pretty decent drug dealer from where I'm from. Um,
Wow.
Learned a lot. Didn't have to do it, chose to do it. I don't have the story like everybody, well, like a
Like
lot of people where,
like a lot of them, they did it to get out of the projects, or did it because they were poor or whatever, and they wanted things like other people had.
yep, this
Your
wasn't,
parents were doing
I ain't gonna
okay.
say they would have gave me anything, but I didn't really have to do it.
Correct.
It was a road that I chose because I became good at it. And I, lifestyle, I can't even say it was lifestyle because I really didn't buy a lot of stuff. I like money.
Mm,
So what I used to do was stockpile money.
mm-hmm.
At the age of 18, I had $28,000.
Wow.
Now, in a city, that probably ain't a lot of money,
But
especially
down
up
there,
there, a lot of money.
that's a lot of money.
Yes. At the age, I did watch the money disappear. I ended up getting locked up at the age of 21 for 2 months. Went to school, got caught with some weed at school, and watched my money drop all the way back down. So I ended up bonding some people out, a bunch of stuff, but
Right.
ended up losing pretty much everything that I had. I came home with like 10 grand. Bought. I'm kind of fast forwarding the story because
Right.
I know time
Right.
wise, but ended up basically losing pretty much everything. My sister stole some of my money from me, one of my sisters, and I watched my money disappear. So I had roughly probably about $1,000, and I decided to jump back in the game, sell crack because I called myself just selling weed, but the weed business didn't go well. I ended up buying some bad weed. Me and my cousin ended up smoking it up. When I went back to go get some of the money, because I had technically it was like 10,000 and some change. When I went back to go get it, it was like only like it was 8 grand gone, and I just threw the money back and called myself going go chill. But when I went back to go get it, I had literally just $1,000 left.
Wow.
I called myself. I said, you know what? I ran into this hustler from down my way, and he said, look, he told me that he would sell me some work, but he'd front me some work. So I ended up buying something, and he fronted me some work, and I started back selling crack again.
You got back in. Okay.
I got back in, and went well for a little while. Then one time I ended up getting in trouble again, and I had to go sit down for 10 months.
10 months was the longest so far.
At this point in time.
Okay. At
And
this
when
point
I
in
go
time.
back and I do that 10 months, I came home, and roughly I had some good money stacked up because I had a good little run,
Okay.
roughly about 30 grand. But what ended up happening for the next year and a half, I built it up to probably about 2 bricks and some change. I don't know, just fast forwarding this story.
Now
But
you built it up by going back out selling drugs again.
yes, look, instead of taking the little 30 grand I had and moving on with life, I didn't know no different. What I
Mm-hmm.
knew how to do was hustle. This had been my life since 16.
Since 16, right?
And I was good at it. So
Okay.
I don't know what not to do. I didn't want to do it. I'd even told my friends when I was locked up, man, I ain't going back to selling drugs. Came home, right back
Right
at
back
it.
at it.
So
Did you
for the
attempt
next
to do anything different, or you went right back at it?
Nope, right back at it. four
Okay.
days after I came home, I came up. My sisters them stayed in Alexandria, so I came up here, got some money because my sister was holding my money. Got some money and went right back at it.
Okay.
Now for the next 18 months, I did good. I built it up to probably about give or take $87,000 worth of drugs and money. Now
Okay.
this is where the story gets a little crazy. So at the age of 24, I get locked up.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, I lose everything in
You
one day.
get locked up for drug possession.
For attempted capital murder on 4 police officers, and uh, conspiracy to distribute 50 grams or more crack cocaine base to a federal informant, and
Well,
they end up
wait. Wait. What's the first charge now?
attempted capital murder on 4 police officers. What ended up happening, I eluded the police, and
Oh.
they was mad at me because I got away. I had
Oh.
I had 28 and a half ounces of crack cocaine and 33 pounds in my trunk the day I got locked up, and they tried to block me off. They tried to block me off and catch me with these drugs, and God couldn't make this up. I'm sitting in the car. They done blocked my car off. The front vehicle is at a 45-degree angle. Is an Impala right behind me. There's really no space for me to leave. And they hop out the car and I pray. I asked God, I said, please don't let me get caught with all these drugs. Couldn't make this up. And they all out their car. And I prayed, and I heard a voice say, your car is still on. I realized your car is still on. I heard a
Okay.
whisper, but this is what the whisper said. And I looked down, I seen the keys, I seen where they was at. I put it in reverse. I bagged up just a little bit where I wouldn't hit the car. I cut the wheel hard to the right and hit the gas. It was just so happened, however God allowed me to do it, I maneuvered around the vehicle, got away. They claimed later on they had to jump out of the way of the car from getting struck, lied on me. And what ended up happening, they charged me with capital attempted murder on 4 police officers.
Wow. For
And
eluding them and getting away.
yep, and what ended up happening, they ended up giving me a 23-year sentence. So in 2006, they gave me 23 years. Technically, originally, I would not come home till 2026. So me and you actually do not supposed to be having this conversation right now. So what ended up happening, um, they sentenced me. They give me the 23 years, and for the next, and remember, I'm broke, so I lose everything the day I went in. But this was God. God actually was teaching me a lesson that I don't have to sell drugs. I've been drawing ever since I was 8 years old, but I didn't know that art could make money. I didn't understand that God had given me a gift.
No one
And
had fostered that in. I mean, no one really tapped into that.
and my mother, she did tell me, she said that she wanted me to be an architect. But I used to tell her, I'm not an architect, I'm an artist. Not knowing that architect is art, I did somewhat know, but I told her that is not the type of art that I do. I'm
Mm-hmm.
an artist. And I didn't know then that I was even speaking life into myself, that I would be an artist later on in life. But while I'm in prison, I ended up taking and watching, doing a bunch of stuff. So my entire life changed. As a matter of fact, just to let you know, the whole time I'm selling drugs and everything, I was going to church and Bible study on Wednesday. But what ended up happening while I'm in prison, God showed me something. I cried for 6 months straight because I lost everything. I lost over $87,000 worth of drugs and money, mostly drugs, the day that I got locked up.
And
And
when
I'm
you say
sitting
you
there.
lost it, what does that mean? You just like
So
somebody stole it?
I
You had to
had
pay? You had to.
I had the 23 ounces and the 28 ounce and a half ounces of crack cocaine and the 33 pounds somebody ended up taking in. I had $15,000 that I ended up taking and having to put towards my lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it.
Wow.
And my mama did take the 9 grand that I had in my on my person the day I got locked up. I don't know what she did with it, but everything gone.
Everything gone.
And
Okay.
I ended up crying for the first 6 months of my bid. It felt like almost every day because I depended on the money that I made. The only time I really depended on God was when I needed God to do something for me, to bring me out of something. Whenever I'm about to get in trouble, because I've been in trouble a few different times and had to call out on God and literally watch God do a miracle to get me off. But I was too me to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to relinquish control of what I knew I was good at doing.
Right.
So I'm sitting in prison, and like I said, I cried for about 6 months, and God basically let me know that I got you. It's gonna be a long ride, but I got you. So what ended up happening, he showed me over the next 13 years that I'm going to make sure you're fed, you're clothed, that you're sheltered. But also what I'm going to do is some extra stuff. I'm going to make sure your sister send you $170 over the next 11 years because you broke. I'm gonna show you I really take care of you, and you don't have to do certain stuff that will pollute your community or anything. Mm-hmm. So while I'm in there, I like to tell everybody I went to college. I didn't go to prison. Mm-hmm. And I was on a debate team. I got closer to God. I was on a praise team. I learned how to thank God for life. And I started realizing that I didn't lose nothing. What I did was gain my freedom. He freed me from my addiction of drug dealing. He ended up taking and showing me that not only am I special, but we all are. Once you learn how to literally drop your control or what control you think you have, God shows up and show you that you ain't got to do the things you think you got to do. So what ended up happening? 2014, my parents came to see me.
Is this the first time they came?
No, they came. Matter of fact, that's another thing that he showed me. I'm gonna make sure that they come see you 11 years straight. So the love that I thought I didn't get when I was young, I got it for 13 years of my life. I got to sit there and talk to my parents more than I would say my siblings that was out here. They came and visited me 11 years, once a month, every month, and they showed me more love than I'd ever seen. I sat there and got to talk to them about everything for 11 years straight, once a month.
Did you ever let your mother know how you felt as a little boy, that you didn't feel the love, or you never told her?
Well, another thing, I didn't get to hear my mother actually tell me that. My father told me when I was 18, I heard him actually say he loved me. I really didn't get to hear my mother say that she loved me until I was old, like 24. I can't remember actually hearing her say, I love you. But later, they were older, so before they passed, it was 80 and 79 years old. So these are not words that they actually probably heard.
Right.
But what they knew how to do was take care of you. Mm-hmm. So they showed love, they didn't know how to express it.
I see.
And I learned this in prison, that I was dealing with a different breed. The breed that you gotta remember, my father, he was a sharecropper when he was growing up. Next thing closer to slavery. My mother, she had her parents, and they was different, but they actually gave me everything I needed while I was in prison. But I look at it as God giving me, like I said, shelter, food, clothing, and then the love that I needed. The love that I felt that I didn't receive when I was in prison. I mean, when I was young.
Out. Right.
So to fast forward, while I'm in there, I learned how to trust God. And my sister actually told me this when I first got locked up. She said, "You may have believed in God, but you didn't know how to trust Him." And I didn't understand it when she first said it. I understand it now because I actually learned how to trust God with all of me. So while I was in prison, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do anything. What I did, I took and learned how to embody my emotions. I learned how to take and feel everything. I wanted to feel what this felt like. I didn't want to duck or dodge. I'd been smoking weed my entire life, so weed was, I don't even know if it was me dipping and dodging some, or whether it was just me just enjoying the feeling of it. But I learned to feel what life is. You're missing life if you don't feel. Because most of us, we get high when we are happy. We get high when we sad. We don't never feel.
Right.
But in there,
A lot of people use that to mask their emotions and not feel something.
and you don't never feel nothing.
Yeah.
You just stay one way your entire, and I didn't want to feel that. So what I did, I felt everything. When my parents came to see me, this was 2014. This was just one of the times that really stood out. I looked at them and they looked sick. They was getting older, so they was like 63 and 67 or 63 and 66 when I got locked up.
Mm-hmm.
So they was already old, but
Yeah.
I'm watching them get old.
Older.
Yeah, and I'm sitting up in there. I'm like, oh man, these people gonna die while I'm in here. And I'm looking at them. So I go back to the cell and I get on my knees and I ask God. I said, look, give me something that'll help me make money while I never sell drugs again, because I don't want to come back in here whether they live or die. I don't want this to happen.
I don't
And
want
what
to
it,
come back, right?
nah, don't want to do this again. And even if they doing their part. I don't want to mess around and disrespect them and they done everything, or disrespect you. So I said, if you do what I do, I tell the world about you. And what ended up happening? 2 years, 2 months later, I've been studying Black history for 3.5 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there, and one day we go to eat, and I looked, and there was a black correction officer standing with his hands behind his back like this, like he was in the army, and it was a white guy cutting grass in front of him, and I looked, and I said, "Damn, this looked like this to be a black slave master and a white slave." He said, "I tell my friend," he said, "I can see that." 2 months later, because I forgot the idea, I'm going through a black history book, and I see these two white guys chasing a black guy. And I look, and the idea pops back in my head. And that day, I started doing the artwork that's in my book. My book, I reversed the roles of white and black people through slavery, Jim Crow, all the way up to our present moment. And I see it, and I started doing the artwork. So for the next 3.5 years, I did artwork based on this one idea. I ended up doing 48 pictures based off this one idea, a role reversal of Black history.
Wow.
So the next thing that happened, two correction officers, two women said, you should write a book to your artwork. Matter of fact, let me back up real quick. In 2014, my mama, she told me, she said, pack your bags. I got 8.5 years left, and I'm like, pack my bags for what? I still got 8.5 years left. What am I packing my bags for? I thought she was going crazy. Woman, you got to be crazy to be telling me to pack my bags, and I still got 8.5 years left. So every Sunday and every Wednesday, when I got on the phone with her, because I talked to them twice a week, she was like, hey, boy, did you pack your bags? I was like, I get to it. Did you pack your bags? Mom, I get to it. So fast forward, then did 3.5 years go, and she did this for 3.5 years straight, non-stop, every Sunday and every Wednesday. Two correction officers tell me, you should write a book to your artwork. I ended up, didn't know how to write a book. I ended up taking, and I'm a thinker. So what happened? I just thought to every picture. It already went in order. The whole, all the pictures was in order, chronological order, from slavery through Jim Crow all the way up into our present moment. And what I did, I wrote to every picture. So after I finished the book, one day I'm just chilling, and I heard some said try it. I ain't even gonna say I heard some. I'm gonna say I heard God said try it. So one day I told the same dude I told about that I seen that looked like it was a black slave master and a white slave. I told him, I said, look, my mom told me to pack my bags. I said, this is gonna look crazy, but I just need one person to be able to see this and to know that I ain't crazy. I said, look, every day I'm about to pack my bags. I'm about to walk to the R&D door and look out this window and imagine myself leaving. I read 3 books. One of them was the entire Bible, Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and all these books. I read a bunch of other books too, but these 3, they told me that you could basically a few things. And I got to back up again. In 2014, I heard God tell me 3 things. I was going to leave prison early. The world was going to see my artwork. That I was a millionaire.
Mm.
So fast forward back to where I'm at.
And this is
When I
while you
tell
were still in prison, right?
this while I'm still in prison,
Mm-hmm.
and fast forward back to where I'm at when I'm packing my bags. I and I packed my bags, and for 3 months, I would walk to the R&D door and look out the window and imagine myself leaving. So,
Wow. You
yep.
did that?
Well, this is what happened. I used to work in R&D. So while I was working in R&D, I seen people leave every day. So it's etched in my mind, me going out that door. I still got 4.5 years left. And what ended up happening in this whole, I come to find out, in this from 2014 to 2018, later on I come find out, Van Jones, well, Brittany Barnett, she's a lawyer in Texas. She
Hmm.
ended up taking and getting and creating this bill. But Van Jones ended up taking it for 3.5 to 4 years, took and went to Congress people, everybody, and told them, look, I want y'all to sign on to this bill. 2018. I don't know if you remember when Kim Kardashian jumped on the bandwagon and went to Trump them, and they ended up and Trump ended up signing that bill.
Mm.
2018, December of 2018, after he messed around and signed that bill, I took and wrote a letter to him, to my judge, and said, look, this bill applies to me. 2000 February of 2019, I get a letter in the mail, and it said that you are eligible for release. And same day, my ex-girlfriend left me the same day. Look, she left me that earlier that day. I get a letter in the mail saying, look, you're being released. I don't know when. I just know I'm about to leave it next month. March 8th of 2019, I come home. Okay,
Wow.
so this is what happened. Since then, I guess this will be the triumph part. Since I've been home, which has been 6 years now, my artwork has now been at the World Trade Center 3 years in a row. I've exhibited in D.C. twice, Baltimore twice, Florida, Georgia, Philly twice. I've sold 11,650 copies of my book and 11,350 hand-to-hand and signed every one of them. Most of them been standing out there in front of the African American Museum asking people, hey, y'all mind if I share my book with y'all? For the last 3.5 years, I've been standing out there in front of that museum and in this store, Community Love. This is one of my friends' store. I'm gonna give you that store
Hmm.
in just a minute. I've been selling books, and I've sold over 11,350 hand to hand and signed every one of them. That's God. I literally was not supposed to be out here, but what I can share with anybody is what God will do for you when you give it to God. I when I first came home, 4 days after I came home, I got a job. This don't happen to everybody. I walked into a gym and my sister had some passes, so I work out. And I walked around with the owner. We stopped at the pull-up bar and I said, yo, you mind if I do some pull-ups? He said, no, go ahead. I did 20. The man said, you want a job? He
Just
basically
like
hired me
that?
just like that. Couldn't make this up if I wanted to. He hired me. The next job, I worked there for 3.5 years while making sure I pushed my art. My artwork was everything. The next thing I did, one day I'm walking to Aldi, and I ended up going to the store. On my way back, there was this car wash. So I go in there. I'm looking for some extra work. I'm only getting paid $600 every 2 weeks working at the gym. So I ain't making much money, but
Right.
I really don't need nothing. It ain't like I'm trying to buy no whole lot of stuff. Look, I ain't got no car at this time. I'm walking. I stopped at that car wash and I asked the people. I was like, "Yo, y'all need some more help?" He was like, "Nah, if we do, I'll call you. Leave your number." I left my name and number. He called me the next morning. I get on the phone. I was like, I'll go up there, washing cars. I look across the street, and there's this car dealership. It's called Action Pre-Owned. And there's a bunch of cars over there. I said, man, I could wash that man's cars instead of washing this for $6 and some change in
Right.
tips. So I said, yo, I'm going to run over there. I'll be right back. He said, go ahead. I go over there, run up in the man's office. I said, look, I said, yo, do y'all need any help? I said, man, I love to wash your cars. He said, man, you look a little too smart to be washing cars. I said, I am. But in order for me to get in the door, I got to start somewhere. He said, look, can you sell cars? I said, yeah, I used to sell drugs. He said, okay, come tomorrow. Come back Monday. I go back Monday. And he didn't make me a car salesman. He made me a tag and title dealer. So I did tag and title for 6 months while working at the gym. So I would work for him from 9:30 in the morning to 7 o'clock. I would walk 40 minutes to my next job and work there from 8 to 11 o'clock at night. I did this for 6 months straight. I'm working Monday through Friday at the gym, and Monday through Saturday at the car dealership. So what
Wow.
ended up happening? After 6 months, they ended up firing me at the car dealership. This was God taking me to my next level. One day, I'm still working at the gym, but I ended up reaching out to Staples. I wanted some more work. I ended up getting a job at Staples and I worked there for 3 months, and I learned how to do business cards. So while I'm there, I just picked up a few different skills. Then I ended up was doing DoorDash. I was working at the gym, doing DoorDash and working at Staples at the same time. I ended
Wow.
up taking and getting fired from Staples because 2 days I was doing DoorDash when I was supposed to be at work. Look, I'm chasing money. And then one day, while doing DoorDash, I get a bing at Krispy Kreme Donuts to go drop some donuts off at a car dealership. I mess around and dropped the donuts off, and they was hiring. They just started their car dealership. So I go over there, and I asked the GM. I was like, "Hey, y'all hiring?" He was like, "Yeah." I had messed around and took my license because they had told me that they was gonna make me a car salesman at the other car dealership, but they didn't.
They
They
didn't.
skipped they skipped over me and went on and gave it to he was Indian, but I'm gonna just say white guy because he was white,
Mm-hmm.
but gave it to this white guy and skipped over me. Messed around. I'm over here at this car dealership and they hired me to sell cars. I was the #1 car salesman 3 times in a row. And in 2000, this was in 2020, October of 2020, I got a $6,000 commission check for selling cars. I heard God say, publish your book. I ended up taking $1,200 and put towards my book. November of 2020, November 23rd of 2020, my book went into publication. Right now, I've sold over 11,650 copies of the same book. Now, the crazy thing is, if I had not listened to God then, this book wouldn't have been published right now. But because I was able to hear and trust the process. Look, and let me see. They ended up taking and needing somebody to do tag and title at the car dealership.
And
I had
you had already done that.
I had tag and title experience from from
Yes.
from my past. This is how God set my whole life up. Look, I couldn't make this up. I can just tell you how it went in sequence and how I got here. Mess around. I ended up doing tag and title for these people. Now, what tag and title did was gave me my time back. Selling cars, it eat up all your time.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up quitting the gym then, and I was just doing cars because they asked me to just sell cars. So I quit the gym, started doing tag and title, and this is what happened. While I'm doing tag and title, I would work from 8 to 5, the evenings off, and then you get the weekends off. So I got all my time. It felt like I got all my time
Mm-hmm.
back. So I was happy with this. I got comfortable. I sold 300 copies of my book the first 3 months it was out. Then when I got the tag and title job, I kind of chilled. So August of 2021, I go into the office of the owner of the car dealership. I used to go and talk to him from time to time,
Mm-hmm.
and I told him, "Hey, I know Krispy Kreme where I can put a Krispy Kreme donut at, and it will make a lot of money." And he said, "Huh?" He listened to me. The next day, I'm sitting at my desk doing tag and type, and 3 people come in. The GM, the COO, and then the lady who was over top of me. And they said, look, Mr. Malloy said, man, you ain't gonna be able to own no Krispy Kreme donut doing no tag and titles. He wants you to go back to selling cars. So this is your last day. It is over. You no longer do tag and title. If you would like to, you can go to selling cars, but this is your last day doing this.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there, I listened to them, they left, and tears ran down my eyes. I started crying. Why?
And
Because
why were you upset?
I didn't like the fact that nobody was pushing me to do something I did not want to do. I didn't want to go back to selling cars. Look,
Right.
hey, that takes all of your
All
time.
your time.
And what God showed me was this. I had a preview of my life. Everything that had happened in my past that got me up to here. I seen myself sitting at that toilet crying out to God. I seen me creating the artwork and the book. 2 weeks before they came to me and told me this, I started going out there in front of the African American Museum and I sold 7 books the first time. I sold 10 books the next weekend. And then the weekend that I'm about to go back out there, they fired me and tell me they no longer wanted me to do tag and title work. And then the last thing I seen was the cover of my book go across my eyes. And I went into the lady's office next door and I said, hey, they just let me go. They want me to go back selling cars. She said, can you stay and change? I said, yeah. I had to change going in prison. I had to change coming out of prison. I had been fired from about 3 different jobs. I had to change from this job to that job. I said, change is all I know.
Mm-hmm.
She said, you can stay and change, go. I went back to my desk and I tried to do some work and my brain wouldn't even compute. I went back to my car and I told them, I said, look, I'll let y'all know something by the end of the day. I went to my car, sat in my car, and I called my sister. This is the sister that sent me $170 for the whole 11 years. And I said, look, I said, baby, these people just fired me. They fired me from this job and wanted me to go back to selling cars. She said, they did you wrong. I said, I know. I said, hey, I think I'm about to try to sell my book full time. It got real quiet. And then she said, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. I called them people back and I said, look, I'm not coming back.
I'm not selling
And
cars.
I'm not, no, I'm not coming back, period.
Okay.
Look, I don't even want to take a title no more. Look,
Okay.
I will take my chances with what God has given me because He showed me. I prayed for something. I prayed for something. Right now, it's been 11 years ago. I asked God to give me something that'll help me make money or I never sell drugs again. And I literally, right now, live off of a book that I created sitting in prison. And it's been the best thing that I have ever seen in my life. I have never, there's a Bible verse that says, your gift will make room for you and put you before great men. And what I can tell anybody, I don't know what your gift is, but I can promise you, if you pray and you put faith and work to your gift, there is nothing that your God will not do for you. I have literally lived off of a thought, something that was nothing but a thought in my mind. And today, I have sold more books than excuse my language, probably most bookstores. I've sold 11,650 copies of one book. I couldn't
Mm.
put my book in nobody's bookstore and sold this many books. I watched my God literally give me the platform. When I said platform, I'm talking about standing in front of the museum, the African American Museum here at the National Capitol. And I stood out there and sold books, not in the rain, but cold. I did this in the cold. I did this when it was hell hot. I have been doing this for 3.5 years, and I literally watched God give me the energy. I don't know why I have the energy that I have. I still go out there today. Right now, I I got 3,200 copies of my book sitting at home. And that's just my first book. My second book, just recently. And this is the same person that owns that dealership that told me that told them people to come up to my office.
Mm-hmm.
He's he's donated $5,500 to me to give away books. He gave me $1,500 at the beginning of last year to give away my second book. My second book is called The Autobiography of the Butterfly, How the Caterpillar Made It Through. It is of a butterfly telling the story of a caterpillar. And I took it into his office, went over there one day. I said, look, I want to get this book away. Take it, read it, and I'll be back. He read it. I came back. He said, how many books you want me to buy? I said, I would love for you to buy 300. That's $3,000. And I can give these 300 books away. I said, or you can buy 150 and give me $1,500. And he cut me a check $1,500. I stuck my foot in my mouth. I could have got the whole $3,000. I didn't need it at that time. So I had 3 other people donate the rest of the money. I ended up getting $3,000, and I ended up giving away 300 books. The end of last year, this is what God told me: give away 3,000. So I went back to him, and I sat in his office. I said, "Look, man, I want to give away 3,000 copies of this book." I said, he said, "Write me a proposal." I went back to him with a proposal. He gave me $4,000. I had the rest. I had some other people donate $3,500 to me. One of them is the owner of Community Love. Another one is, his name is Everett Taylor. He's the CEO of Kickstarter. I met him standing out there in front of the African American Museum. This man didn't know me. He bought a book for $50. Just gave me $50 for a book. And then I ended up reaching out to him at the end of last year and told him what I wanted to do. And he said, "Hey, when you get the rest of it, get most of it, call me. Hit me back." The day before they bought my book, this was last in March, I reached out to him. I've been reaching out to him. We were supposed to have 2 different meetings. We didn't get to have neither one. And then the last time, the day before they was about to bring me this 5,000 books, they ended up taking. And we ended up finally having a meeting, and he sent me $1,200 just like that to finish covering the balance, and $7,500 to give away 3,500 copies, because now I'm giving away 3,500, not 3,000. And hey, what I can tell anybody, you don't know who you are. What I can promise you, you're great. And if you can believe it, I only believed what God told me 11 years ago, that I would leave prison early. And I left 4.5 years early. Technically, I left 7.5 years early, but I only just say 4.5, because I was supposed to come home originally next year, but they ran three years concurrent, and it was supposed to be 2023 the second time, and I left in 2019. Number 2, God told me the world would see my artwork. It was at the World Trade Center in New York on a big screen. I cannot make this stuff up. Look, I can just tell you what God has done and let you, look, be the witness of everything. World Trade Center 3 years in a row. I've exhibited in D.C. twice, Baltimore twice, Florida, Georgia, Philly twice. I'm about to have an art show in Ohio at the beginning of June. And this is just the beginning. And crazy thing is this: the $1,000,000, it happens when it happens. I'm okay. I done seen everything else that God to do. If He make two of them done came true, I can promise you the third one gonna happen. But it
That's
ain't
right.
really, it really ain't even for me. Yes, I will enjoy some of this, but what I get to do is inspire our young people, inspire our older people. I get to inspire people and let them know what my God has done. I get to show them that if He do it for me, there's nothing that He can't do for you. But what I do need you to do is add some faith and add some work to whatever it is your gift is.
Work. Yep.
And what you'll watch is your gift make room for you and put you before great men. You'll watch men and women. I'm adding women because men, when it says men, it includes women. It just means all mankind. But This is the only reason why I'm here in front of you now.
Yes.
God had a plan. And one of my favorite verses is Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have towards you, declares the Lord. Not to harm you, but to prosper you and give you an expected end. You got to know that God got a plan for you. And whatever you're going through, it ain't for harm. It's for you to tell somebody. It's later on you'll understand that your story is where you're going to prosper and where your
Yes.
expected end is going to come. Look, prison felt like home. It felt like, man, if it was the end of my world. I was gonna be in my 40s when I came home with nothing but no experience to work, no nothing, but I already had all the experience I need. All my experience come from me selling drugs and doing everything. All these things work together, or as according to the Bible it says, and we know all things work together for the good of those who love God and are
Yes.
called according to His purpose. You got to know that you got purpose, and when you do, you get to watch what God is going to do with your life. So that is it.
Listen, Carlos, I want to say to you, first of all, thank you. Thank you for your obedience. Thank you for understanding while you were away in prison that there was something that you needed and you got it. You needed that relationship that you built with God. You needed it and you took it seriously. And that's what allowed you to start actually hearing from Him. So, like you say, you always feared God, you always knew Him, but having a relationship
It's
is
different.
completely different, right? And so your journey is an example of exactly that. And so you, thank you, thank thank you for your transparency. Thank you for again just being an example for of others who may be out there right now trying to figure their lives out in prison, or they just got out and trying to figure their lives out. Thank you for that. And one question that I do have before we wrap up, it is 10 o'clock, but I do want to ask, what do you say to the 7-year-old Carlos right now if you had an opportunity? What do you say to the 7-year-old Carlos?
Trust the process. Um, just like the book that I wrote, the butterfly book. It's called The Autobiography of the Butterfly, How the Caterpillar Made It Through. And you don't know what your caterpillar going to have to go through. There's going to be some ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
Trust the process. But those ups and downs are going to build you to be the butterfly that you're going to be. And right
Mm.
now, I am a butterfly. I still got caterpillar stuff in me because I'm,
Caterpillar residue.
yeah, because I'm still growing to another stage. So
Mm-hmm.
you become a caterpillar all over again, but your wings get bigger every time.
Your butterfly wings are growing.
They growing every time. And what I learned, trust the process. Biggest thing I can tell him, do as he already know to do in his spirit, and that's trust God. And in time, he get to watch or we get to watch this movie of me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a movie.
It's been a
And
movie.
look, the person that you see in the day don't even know the person that he's about to become. I'm still growing. I'm still becoming. This is just the beginning of this stuff. I just get to watch Carlos go from, and my name is Carlos Antoine Walker. A lot of people from my past knew me by Antoine or Twan, but
Mm-hmm.
I got to watch Antoine grow up to Carlos, and then I'm watching Carlos grow up to Mr. Walker. So hey, it's a
Okay. All
it's a
right, Mr. Walker.
it's a. I used to make people in prison call me Mr. Walker. It was funny too. Look, look, the people used to get upset with me, but it was just funny. Look, just me watching me grow up. I didn't know I was me. Most people, and I tell everybody today, especially young people, they don't know who they are.
Mm.
But now I know that I am me, and this version of me don't even know who I'm about to be. But that person that I'm gravitating towards, he knows all of us. And to me, I think our spirits know all of this because your spirit done been through past, present, and future. That's what God has already given us was our spirit or the Holy Spirit. And what happened? It has touched every part of your life. You just got to know that keep going. Don't give up. For anybody who's ready to give up now, you'd be a fool. I hate to tell you. Because tomorrow is way better than anything that you ever known. But today is your best moment of you can mess around and endure the pain. Whatever your pain is, it's going to take you somewhere great. And share your
That's
story. That's what we're
right.
here for.
That's what we're here for. Thank you so much, Carlos. I appreciate you. I appreciate your journey. This Trauma to Triumph interview will stay here on this page. It'll also be on my personal page. I'm also going to edit the beginning of it where you before you join, and I'm going to put the edited version on the Trauma to Triumph YouTube channel, and I'll send you the link so that you can share it, share it, share it. If there's ever anything that this podcast or Spotlight Over the City can do to help your journey, please let me know. Please let me know. We're in this healing journey all together. We're all in this together.
I thank
So,
you for your work. This is important. Um,
very important.
like I stated that Bible verse at the beginning, and they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimonies. You don't know how much power you hold and why you're doing what you're doing. It frees people to hear people know that they can make it through, or because somebody else has made it through,
That's
I'm
right.
gonna make it.
That's right.
When you hear and know that part, that's the reason why I also do the other things that I do is because of those stories. You are a storyteller, but you're also a story keeper. Make sure you keep doing this.
I
You
will.
don't,
Thank you so much.
you
I
truly
will.
don't, or you know how important it is, but I don't think you know how important it truly
Each
is if you
episode,
do.
I'm learning more and more and more each
So
time.
doing, keep doing your job and know, look, I love you, and if it's anything, matter of fact, have you wrote a book?
Say that again?
Have you wrote a book?
No, not yet.
I need to.
I'm a contributing author in one of those, books that's got different authors in it, but it's only
Okay.
about 3 pages.
No, that's not. Look, that means you're an author then. Look,
Yes, I am an
I,
author.
I would love to do an interview with you about that as well because I do quite a few different interviews, but I would love to have you and we'll be building because I told you, Stan like a brother to me. And look,
Yes,
he adopted me as a brother when probably about 4 years ago. Every now and then I hit him up just to tell him I love him.
yes.
Look, so
And I learned a lot about the similarities that you all both have on your journey. Some very similar things. So I look forward to what would come out of that the union of two brothers like yourselves, two extremely brilliant men who have a lot to offer, and that word of God. That's the most important thing.
that's the
That's
biggest
the
part.
that's the most important thing. One other thing before I let you go, there were a few people on here that asked about your book because they want to get it. Can you talk to them about how they can get your book and how they can follow you?
Okay, so in my bio, on my Instagram page, it is a square link, and you can actually purchase it there. That way, I get to sign y'all's book and send it to you. I could tell you could buy it off Amazon. I don't really use Amazon. I tell people to buy it for me so I get to sign y'all's book because I am famous for this book. I am making sure, and I got 3,200 copies of this book at home. One of them, I got 1,500 copies that I need to be getting rid of the Butterfly book too. I'm trying to make some money. If y'all want to also make some money off of books, this will be probably the only book that I've ever heard of do this. I will give you $8 a book if you can help me sell these books.
Oh,
Look,
okay.
I'm trying to sell books, and I got a plethora of books. If y'all want to make some money, look, I will help y'all make some money. While yes, I am gonna make money, but I will give you $8 a book if y'all can help me sell books.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear
So,
that now?
and look,
Okay. You got
y'all
an opportunity.
y'all DM me. I will give you the code. I'll give you a code. That way you can put your code in. That way I know it's your specific code. You'll get your money as soon as they cash app, whatever, however they send me the money. I'll make sure I
And you
send you
get
your
your eight
money.
dollars per
Yeah,
book.
look, this is
That's not
eight
a bad
dollars a
deal.
book. Hey, man, look, I'm trying to make hustlers. Look, you sell 800 books, you get eight. Look, I mean, you sell 100 books, you get $800. You
That's not
sell a
bad.
thousand books. Look, And you ain't got to do no shipping. You ain't got to do nothing. I'm gonna ship and sign and do everything. All you got to do is make the connection,
Make the
and I'm gonna
connection,
make
make
sure
the
you get
sale.
money. You
Okay.
sell 1,000 books. Look, I got you. That'll be $8,000 for you. I ain't playing games. I'm trying to make some money.
I'm gonna edit this clip so we can post this part of it as well, so people can know.
And look, I'm trying to help people make money right now. Look, and I told you I'm a millionaire. Look, look, I believe that.
That's right.
I believe what God told me that
Manifest it.
we gonna
That's
we gonna make
exactly right.
millions together if we
You
can.
manifested of everything else, so you may as well continue in your same walk, and the millions will come. They're on their way.
Look, look. You sound like Reverend Ike. Money is coming to me.
Yeah, it's coming to you. It's on your. It's on this way.
Hey,
Yep.
and
Thanks again,
thank you.
y'all. Y'all make that $8 a book now. I'm gonna make sure that y'all remember this, because I'm gonna edit that part of this interview specifically so that we can circulate that.
Hey, and if you want to look, hey, it's really look mainly for you. If you want to
Okay.
make some money, hell, look,
I can make $8 a book
look,
too.
let's get it
Hey.
popping. And look,
Okay.
hey, I'm trying to make
Okay.
sure both of these books touch a whole different stream.
Okay.
Love you, baby.
All right. Thank you so very much. Okay. I'll
Tell,
be in touch soon.
tell Stan I said I love
I
him too.
will. I will tell him. I will tell them, and he will see this as well. Thank you
Blessings.
so much. All right. Good night. Y'all have a good night. Trauma to Triumph will return next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern with another great guest as we take another journey down memory lane of telling a story of trauma to triumph, where we are turning wounds into wisdom, one story at a time. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have